Right, Nathan, can I pause you there? I'm very sorry.
Actually, no, GPR, let me make one important brief point. Okay. Now, that computer code can only come from an intelligent mind, yeah? That's the only place that it can come from.
That is correct.
So if I write an evolutionary program, then evolution must be intelligently designed, yeah?
Great example. I'm glad you mentioned that. Where did the program that created the program?
Wait, we're not changing the subject. We still have other issues.
It came from mind. That which created the code was a product itself of intelligence. So you cannot
but intelligence can create evolution, correct?
Well, go on.
Yeah,
you're pointing to evidence of intelligent design as if it were even evidence of evolution.
That's not right. Can produce evolution?
Okay, you cut out there. Can you repeat the question, please? Can what?
Can intelligence produce evolution? Well, evidently it can, because I can write an evolutionary algorithm. And if I can do it, surely your God is capable of doing it.
Because we can envision something doesn't mean that's
coming back to you.
I have a question too.
Well, I'm sorry. Look, there's no other way I can do this politely. I'm going to have to end this call, and I will explain why. Okay? I'm sorry to think so. No, I'm sorry. It's now 10:15. We've got at most another 15 minutes. We've got one further caller to squeeze in before we end. And I'm sorry, this is one of the problems when dealing with Nephilim. He will talk and talk and talk. And it is very frustrating, and I apologise to all the people that wanted to say something. Owen in particular, who's been very patiently sitting there, but I'm sorry, there's just no way we can carry this on. Nephilim, if you are now listening, you are welcome to come back on the show at any time that you want to, but unfortunately, time constraints do not allow us to continue this conversation tonight. No doubt you'll post a video saying that we couldn't answer your questions and you were thrown off the program. That is not true. It is simply a matter of time. And I do apologise. We can talk about what Aaron wanted to raise very briefly whilst I bring the next caller in. Aaron, what other points were you going to raise if you've had the opportunity?
Well, aside from the fact that he told me that I'd made some assertions when in fact all I did was ask a question, that can't be interpreted as an assertion. And then the fact that he was wrong about the definition for species and how biologists agree with it. Well, it was also some other points against, not even covering the evidence for the designer, and the fact that it couldn't have been a natural entity of some sort. All of these being unsubstantiated assumptions. But what I really wanted to get into was when he talks about studies of geology, and when he says what we study, he's talking about what he looks at in a picture. I'm talking about going out into the field and actually examining some of these sites firsthand. When, for example, we have areas of geology where you can see in the different layers a beach receding and encroaching. You can see that you have one layer where there's basically sand, and you have the heavier materials, and it's layered where you can actually see it if you do a cutaway. You can see this is where the beach was here, and here's where the water line was here, and here it is here, and there it goes back again. And then I went to this one site where a river had eventually cut through all these layers to expose a Cretaceous beach, an actual beach with lots and lots of ammonites and everything washed up on the shore. Now these items you could say, oh, they were all deposited here in the flood, but that does not explain the layers upon layers of graded materials, then next sequence of graded materials, then next sequence of graded materials on top of that. 65 million years worth of buildup in all these different layers. It simply isn't true what he was saying about the way that the whole world's geology was laid down. It just flat isn't right. Just like his comment about the not being able to agree on the definition of a species, or the phenotypical change wouldn't be evolutionary.
Oh, and I always hesitate. We've got one last caller. I think he's with us already, and I forgot his name. I'm terribly sorry. Are you with us?
That would be Michael, or No Faith, No Pain.
Michael, welcome to the show. I'm sorry you've been very, very patient, and I'm sorry we've taken you so late, and we've only got a limited amount of time. How can we help?
Well, not at all. I think I'll probably be rather boring after a folk hero like Nephi.
Well, it might ease the headache.
I can almost feel my hands morphing back into fins as I lose the will to stay elevated from the primordial swamp. If you're listening, Neff, I did a video called God's Giant Water Pistol, and you're not blocked, and you can comment on it if you want. And thanks for favouriting.
I wonder whether you've been blocked in this channel.
Oh, I have. Well, really, all I was going to say was a little question for the panel. Do the senior, and I mean larger channel atheists on YouTube, think that they're running out of things to make videos about? Because I'm detecting a form of lethargy. Maybe people are thinking that all there is left is to the soul-destroying drudgery of the endless stream of deluded godbothers that you have to hit over the head with the same logical mallet time and time again.
Well, I'm going to pick you up on that. And I've, for me, been relatively quiet during the course of this program, so I'm going to express my view in relation to that. You've absolutely hit the nail on the head, so far as I'm concerned, and my position. There have been a number of videos which I've been minded to make over the last month, 6 weeks, and I just simply haven't been bothered. And I think one of the reasons is exactly that which you have identified, and that is to say, I'm bored of doing the same old stuff, addressing the same sort of arguments, and trying to find some original way in which to put the same arguments. Because that's all there are. The creationist arguments never get any better. They only get worse. So from my personal point of view, I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think that what's important is that if the likes of myself, and I'm not saying that the others, John, has got more subs than me, Aaron, more subs than me, some that more subs than me, I don't know what they will face this question. But certainly what I would like to do is encourage the smaller users, the likes of CS Fair, who we have on the program, the likes of the True Peter, who make very, very good videos and then come at it from a fresh angle. So, and what I'm going to do is bizarrely do it in the reverse order and ask the less well-stuffed people who are on the show and who also have not spoken for a while to address that and see what they've got to say about it, and then I'll move on to the others. But first, CS Fair, please.
Yes, we're talking about the videos made. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I keep reiterating things I put in my videos over and over again, but it's just like, well, I can't respond because I've made the video 2 months ago. It's just gotten to the point where I'm starting to think of things I want to do now, like my 10-second reasoning videos. It's like, that's something original. I don't have to wait on someone. I can do them whenever. I'm trying to do things from literature and other English major areas. I want to do more on anthropology, but it's come to the point where I can't refute the creationists too much more because it's the same arguments I heard in early school. It's the same arguments I heard in high school. It's the same arguments I heard in college. They just don't update because they're not researching anything. They're just making the same arguments.
Well, no, actually, I think there's still a lot of material out there to be covered. Recently, for example, the creationist arguments have moved into the realms of psychology. You know, I was mentioning earlier the entire arguments of Justin. I would have actually loved to take a moment to address that with Nephilim Free, where he's reasserting the position that atheism is not the default position. There's an entire field dealing with religion, the psychology of religion, and byproduct traits as opposed to active traits in evolution, and how they came about, and whether or not his religion is a byproduct trait. I mean, there's always something new out there. You just keep hunting and looking. Atheists on YouTube, we have to be less reactive, more proactive. We have to take more of an attempt to take the lead in this argument. It's one of my biggest problems with the YouTube debate is we have a tendency to react to what they say. And I say, no, we should not do that. We should actually be more active in presenting our arguments to them.
As I say, due to lack of time, I'm going to move very, very quickly on. It's not the final word you'll have on the program, but Aaron, your comment. Are you bored yet?
The problem with these people is in trying to get them to focus on one thing. As you saw with Neff, he wants to go all over the board, and you got much the same thing with Andy Jack. He wants to throw out, once he's been proven absolutely wrong on his first assertion, he wants to then bring up another question. He will not acknowledge, and I've demonstrated this in the interrogation, he will not acknowledge that his statement was wrong, that the disease that he said that it would describe Neanderthals, for example, he would not admit that the Neanderthals did not show the symptoms that he called for, that they did show symptoms he could not account for with information, and that even though genetically we proved he was wrong, morphologically we proved he was wrong, in the fossil record proved that he was wrong, and that every different argument we came up with proved that his analysis was wrong, would he admit it? No. He wants to throw out another question. And that's the problem. They will not let go of their wrongness, and that's why you hear the same argument being repeated for decades on end.
Well, I mean, I just haven't made many videos lately just because I've been obscenely busy. I mean, I'm taking boards and trying to get licensed and all that shit, and trying to cover up all of my shoplifting offenses. But, no, I don't really, I mean, there was a point where I was bored, but the thing about these people is that they just keep on coming up with new crazy shit. Like, I mean, just today, you know, in this conversation, we could make a new video about acromegaly and how it, you know, it was certainly not Neanderthals. We could make a video on Nephilim's circular reasoning that everything in nature was not created naturally because everything in nature can't be created naturally because it's too complicated. You know, it's perfect example of circular reasoning. I mean, it's just flat out stating that. You could point out the holes in the logic and things like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, can the whole process of dealing with YouTube and shit like that get boring? Yeah, but I don't know. There's always going to be something. And this is something Thunder and I have talked about a lot, but it seems like the more that I stay away from it, the more I come up with. In other words, if I was, you know, if I was since I've been out of the loop for a while, I don't know, I've just got so many more ideas for new videos, whereas before I was feeling like, well, shit, kind of done everything. So, I don't know, my opinion's changed in the last month or so. I think that there is.
It's a problem, DPR. I have too many things to do, and I get one started, and I think, oh God, I've got to talk about that. And I start writing another script, and then, you know, something else comes up. There's so many things to talk about when you open yourself up to a much broader array of topics. The bigger picture of, you know, what is it about creationism that bothers us? It's the anti-science element, or it's the lack of logic, or it's the, you know, whatever it is about it that bothers us. There's so many other things when you start looking around. That's why I've sort of branched out into other topics. But the problem is too broad a focus. So I like to see some of the newer channels that focus on just one thing, you know, just William Lane Craig's cosmological argument. It's interesting to see it debunked from about 20 different ways.
It's got to be done, doesn't it? You know, in terms of the gene pool, this is now the mean pool. And the religion is if you like, a detrimental mean. And we are the social vectors in sort of, first of all, polarizing, and then maybe actually leading to the, to use the word extinction sounds a little harsh, but ultimately, these are redundant ideas that serve no purpose. They're actually quite good at propagating themselves. And we are, if you like, amplifiers on those social vectors, so it's got to be done. Now, yeah, sure, it can be frustrating at times. You know, you take Neff as the prime example, that he showed a masterly reluctance to answer the question. You know, you push him on, you know, speciation, and he immediately withdraws behind this line, while no one can agree on exactly what speciation is. Yeah, you give him some coarse-grained definition, he rejects that as well. As Aaron says, you know, you actually go into non-bacterial things, there are actually fairly good definitions of this. You take a look at his conversation with Dom Exodus, where he was showing these very graphic examples of how evolutionary processes can actually lead to the increased versatility of organisms. And he immediately shifts the goalposts to, well, where is the morphological change? And, you know, instantly raising the question, what would you say is a morphological change in a bacteria?
Okay, from the book. All right, thanks for answering the question. I do understand the time constraint. It's important for me that we don't just become merely spiritual spoil sports. You know, that's up to the Christian preachers to do the same thing every week and destroy people's spiritual journey. It's not up to us. We can be interesting. And I hope that everybody sort of keeps carrying on making videos.
I really hope you enjoyed the show. We're out. Good night.